You join me today in the driver's seat of the Skoda Elroq VRs, and I will say right away that as far as expectations of performance cars go, this thing gets off to a really good start. The sports seats feel really comfortable and supportive. There's this Alcantara-like suede material across the dash and here on the armrest and on the door cards. It's everywhere, actually, apart from the one place you'd really want it, which is on the steering wheel. But that side, it's a nice three-spoke wheel, not too thick, really nice to hold. And despite being an electric SUV and having lots of storage and feeling really well built, this thing does not feel tank-like at all. It actually feels quite compact when you're sitting in the driver's seat. And as far as performance cars go, that's a really good thing. It also happens to look pretty sharp from the outside. Okay, the hyper-green paint won't be for everyone, but other colours are available. And the tougher bumpers and lightly drop ride height do give this VRS a sense of purpose that's lacking from other Elroqs. To recap on what we have here, the Elroq is the smaller sibling of the Skoda Enyaq electric SUV. Its direct rivals include cars like the Kia EV3 and the Volvo EX30, and if you go for the VRS one like this, what you're expecting is an SUV with a bit more performance, but that doesn't sacrifice the practicality and the good value nature that you expect of a Skoda. To that end, the Elroq VRS has a useful 470-litre boot and loads of space in the back seats, plus some of the useful practical features from the larger Enyaq, such as cup holders in the armrest and integrated sunblinds. Although with prices starting from a chunky £46,560, it's perhaps not what you'd call a bargain. Or is it? On the one hand, paying £46,000 for a family-sized Skoda SUV does seem kind of bonkers, even if it is very well equipped with electrically adjustable seats and fancy LED headlights. On the other hand, paying 46 grand for a 340 horsepower all-wheel drive electric SUV with a range of up to 340 miles and a 0 to 62 time of 5.4 seconds, well, that doesn't seem so bad, does it? Underpinning the Elroq VRS is the same 84 kilowatt-hour battery pack as you'll find in the larger Enyaq VRS, and it gives the Elroq the kind of range that means most people wouldn't really need to think about charging it all that often. When it does come to charging on the go, the Elroq will accept a rapid charge of up to 185 kilowatts, meaning a 10 to 80% top-up is possible in around 26 minutes. Now, we can't do a review of a modern car without also talking about the screens. In the Elroq, you get the same setup as you do in the Enyaq VRS, so you have this 5-inch display down here for things like the speed and the range. It's actually quite basic, but in my opinion, that's easier to use than some of the bigger displays you get in rivals, which can just be a bit of information overload. In the VRS Elroq, you also get a head-up display that projects information like your speed and your efficiency up onto the windscreen, as well as a few other bits and pieces. It's a really clear display. It's really good, actually. And then you have the central touchscreen, which measures 13 inches and is home to pretty much everything else. Thankfully, it's easy to navigate, the graphics are really good, and it's very responsive too. Skoda has also provided a little row of shortcut buttons down here, so they get you to things like the more detailed heating menu, the driver assist systems, and the drive modes, which is a neat segue to talk about the way that the Elroq VRS drives. And as we do that, it's important to remember where Skoda's VRS models sort of sit in the performance car spectrum, which is to say they've never been the hottest of hot hatches. Think back to the original Fabia VRS, the diesel one, or the 1.8 turbo petrol in the Octavia VRS Mark I, or even the later 2-litre Octavia petrol and diesels. They all had more performance, they all had slightly more special feeling interiors, and they all had suitable mechanical upgrades to help the cars deploy all the power. And while they, like I say, they were never the hottest of hot, they were all actually really quite satisfying driver's cars. By that measure, you'd have to conclude that the Elroq VRS is pretty neatly executed, because its chassis with its lowered sports suspension, its all-wheel drive and its adaptive dampers can be made to feel really quite taut. To achieve that, you just pop the car into its sport drive setting or the individual setting, and then push the suspension setting, the adaptive dampers and the throttle response and steering way up into sport, and do that, and you certainly do feel that this Elroq VRS is more responsive. It does feel more taut. It leans a bit less in corners. It's pretty good, actually. I do, though, wish that the steering was sharper, it feels a bit soft in its responses, and the chassis just never feels very agile. You can throw it into a corner and you can lift off the throttle and try and get back on the throttle, and it never really moves around very much. It's very neutral, which does dilute the fun somewhat. So it's good, but there are two areas where I think the Elroq VRS is left wanting, both of which ultimately make it less rewarding. The first is mass. So Skoda quotes the curb weight of the Elroq VRS at 2,229 kilos. Now, two weights here for comparison. One, think back to the Skoda Octavia VRS. That was actually a bigger car, bigger boot, more practical. It weighed about 1,500 kilos, so 700 kilos less than this. That matters in a performance car. The other car I want to contrast this with, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hang on, you're driving an EV, of course it's heavier, it's got a big heavy battery. But so does the Enyaq VRS. It has the same battery, in fact. It's also 17 centimeters longer and it has a much bigger boot, and yet it weighs only 7 kilos more. How is that possible? How is the Elroq so close in weight to the Enyaq? Surely it should be lighter. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because the weight of a car, and a performance car especially, has a huge impact on the way it drives. So that's the first area where I think the Elroq VRS perhaps misses out compared with some of its predecessors. It's just too heavy. The second is that the powertrain, while very efficient in how it deploys its performance, just doesn't have any character. So, you put your foot down and it goes. It really goes. It's fast, this car. And more importantly, it's not too fast. It never makes you feel sick. It goes. It's great. However, if you think back to cars like that Fabia VRS diesel we talked about, it was fun trying to keep it in its torque band to make progress. Or an Octavia VRS, it was always fun going up and down the gears. You just don't get that same sense of involvement in this Elroq. It's just more of a point and squirt kind of car. It should be said here that you could of course level the same accusation at the vast majority of performance EVs. Equally though, you can point out cars like the Ioniq 5N, which show that you can use technology to overcome the inherent lack of character in an EV drivetrain. If Skoda could add some fake gears perhaps, or have it so you could manually adjust the power distribution, it would make a difference to how much fun this Elroq VRS is. As things stand, instead it feels like an Enyaq VRS that's shrunken in the wash. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, because the Enyaq's a good car, and this Elroq VRS is comfortable, the performance is strong, it would be super easy to live with on a day-to-day basis. What it's not though is great fun, and that's a shame because it feels like there is fun locked in this car. It has the potential. So it's a job for the facelift Skoda. Unlock that potential, add some fake gears, make the steering sharper. And if you can do that, you'll turn a good car into a potentially great one, as well as something that is unique in its sector of the market. This car could be awesome. It's just not quite there yet. In conclusion then, if you want all the benefits of EV motoring with some real punch, the Elroq VRS will do the job. But as the smaller of Skoda's two performance SUVs, I do wonder if there's room to make it feel more agile, more engaging, and ultimately more exciting to drive. What do you reckon? Let us know in the comments, and remember to head to cargurus.co.uk when it comes time to search for your next car.